Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Lazarus here, back with another video. Today we're going to do another Aquarist podcast with a great guy called Peter from Guppy Guru. Hey Peter, how are you?
Hey Laz, good to see you. I'm great. Thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. This is basically what this Aquarist podcast is about. We just play this while doing your water changes or whatever, and then we just basically interview Aquarists from all around the world. So let's dive into the video. So Peter, how did you get into the fish keeping hobby?
Yeah, so that's kind of I did it a little backwards. Most people do, they get their first tank and then they do all their research and then they realize they did it wrong. And then they kind of just backtrack and start over. Where I actually did 2 years of research with every video possible, books, forums, all of that before I even got my first fish tank. And that was only about a year ago. So I've kept fish when I was a kid and everything, but nothing very serious. But then this year has been the year of the tanks. So I went from one tank in June of last year to now I think I'm at 33 and a few ponds. So pretty quick development of the fish room.
That's great. Yeah, 2 years. Wow. What did I do? I got my first tank. I probably did a month research before I got my first tank, but yeah.
I mean, any research before is important. It really is. It's something that you don't want to jump into anything without knowing a little bit about it. But I really like the research side of things. So I went a little further down the wormhole than most people would. So
yeah, especially forums. Forums are probably my favorite to find stuff out because the community there is awesome. A forum specifically that I think is really great would be the tropical fish forums.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that
that's
one?
A really good one. Yep. That's a great one. Corey from Aquarium Co-op just came out with his new forum. If you haven't checked that out, it's called
what's
Care.
It called?
So it's actually on their website. You can go and click on it and they've got it all there. And it's really, really awesome. A bunch of really incredible people. And like myself's on there. We've got Bay Area Aquatics, HC Aqua, all those people are on there, leaving really great information and comments and stuff on everyone's posts. Even Corey comments on a lot of posts on there.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for telling me because I'm going to check that out afterwards.
Yeah.
How long have you had your passion for fish keeping?
Passion/obsession would be the minute I got my first tank. I just was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I love this. I would wake up about 50 minutes early every morning when I first got my tank and just sit and drink my cup of coffee and watch my fish swim and feed them and all that stuff. Now I have so many tanks that's kind of impossible to sit and watch all of them at once. But the nice part is they're all behind me, so I do get to see most of them at once. But yeah, my obsession's been probably 3 full years because I did that 2 years of research and then the 1 year of tanks now. But it's going to continue for the rest of my life. I have no doubt about that.
So what was your first tank? So is it behind you or?
No, it's not in here. It's actually in the dining room. It's a 45-gallon tall. So I would not recommend a tall fish tank to anybody because it's very difficult to do any maintenance to or aquascaping. So very difficult to do much with that tank at all. So I've got a couple of Amazon swords in it and some jungle val. And then I've got a couple of emerald cory cats in there, a bristlenose pleco, and some Variatus platies in that tank at the moment. But I am going to be getting some discus to go in there, which should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a tall one right here. It's basically 60 centimeters long and 45 centimeters tall. So it's quite a big, tall aquarium. And I put a bunch of plants in it, and they don't seem to be doing well at all.
Yeah, I had to get the most powerful par-rated light that I could get to go down to the bottom of that tank. So luckily jungle val, I've got a dwarf aquarium lily in there too, and that thing is doing great. So I would recommend if you can get a dwarf lily to go in that tank, definitely would recommend it because it's a really good low light plant that looks really, really nice.
I have a plant in my 90 liter. So it's a cube, right? And then I don't know what type it is. It's more like a leafy green one. And it was basically this tall on Sunday, and it's 5 days later, and it's that tall. It
Does it
grew
just
so
look like a
quickly.
piece of grass coming up? It's about maybe a foot taller than the 75 gallon. So it's a really deep tank. And that jungle valve went from the bottom all the way up to the top of the tank, curved across the whole top, and then went back down and was touching the substrate again. So those leaves were probably maybe a yard. Like it was a very, very long plant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Next question. Have you ever gone fishing?
Oh, I love fishing. I go fishing all the time. Yeah, my family goes up to Alaska. So Alaska is kind of the pinnacle of fishing, freshwater and saltwater fishing. So we go up there and we catch king salmon and sockeye salmon. So we have a place up in Alaska that we go fishing. My family's gone for like 20 years straight. So love fishing. It's one of my favorite things to do. Maybe that's why I like fish so much.
Yeah, because I always thought that lots of aquarists would never go fishing. But I've loved going fishing since I was very little. And it's just a great fun thing to do outside. And you get to hang out with the fish. But then the thing I don't like about fishing, though, is gutting the fish and like filleting and stuff. I always feel sorry for it, and then I wish I had put it back in the water. But then once we've cooked it and everything, it tastes really good. So.
Oh yes, it does.
Yeah, you just have to not think about it, I guess. Sockeye salmon. So I did I did a lesson about the sockeye salmon last week, I think, at school. Very interesting fish. Do they have pink on them? It's a beautiful
fish. They do, yeah. So it's either called the humpback salmon or the sockeye salmon or the Chinook is another name that people call them.
Oh, they're also called
really,
Chinook.
really beautiful. Yeah, they're a beautiful fish. Probably the most widely sold salmon in the world. I did just lose it a couple weeks ago. I lost one of my favorite guppies. It was Larry, Moe, and Curly. They were 3 of my red mosaic blue ear Dumbos, and I lost the last one the other day. So I shed a couple tears for that little guy, but I've got some new Dumbos in the fish room that I really love. But yeah, I pretty much like every fish in my fish room. That's kind of the nice part about having all my tanks is that I can say like, oh, I really like this one, or I'm not liking this one so much. Let's, get rid of those and get a new strain in and see which one. But every fish in my fish room, I love looking at all of them.
Yeah, I don't really know any fish that doesn't look good in the aquarium. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because at school, I say that all fish are cute, and then people at school are always saying, fish aren't cute, they are weird. But what I find, but probably the cutest fish that I think is the cutest, they're all super cute, but I always say to my friends, the black moors, the eyes poking out.
Yep.
And also the Ranchu goldfish that I just did a
I love
about.
Ranchus. Yeah, I've got 2 of those. They are the cutest little things in the world. Just little water cows.
I know. It's hilarious. And my Ranchu goldfish, he kind of goes diagonal and then drifts up to the top of the tank and then waddles back down. Does that all day, and it's probably the family pet. The family fish, not pet, because we have Lenny, who's the dog.
Yeah.
But,
now, those fish are super cute. Those are super cute. Those are an eye-catching fish that if no one likes fish, they'll see that and they'll love it because they're just hilarious. I had them in my 45 tall. I had 2 of them in there. I moved them out to the pond the other day. But I had them in there, and there's a canister filter on there. So the canister kind of blows down one of the walls. And the calico rancher would go up to the side and he'd get stuck in it and he'd go all the way down on the bottom really fast. And then he'd swim up to the top and he'd scoot over and then go all the way down again. There's a little fish roller coaster for him every day. He loved it.
That's great. Does your Ranchu goldfish develop the hoods?
So they haven't yet because they're still pretty small. I want to say they're probably, maybe 6 months old. They're pretty juvenile still, but they're starting to get the little nose flaps, the little barbels on their faces. So I'm pretty sure they're going to get closer to the crown, the lion head kind of look. But I haven't seen too much really big development out of them yet. They're just getting a little bit larger now. So
Yeah. So they grow pretty big, right?
yeah, I think 8 inches is the max. 8 to 10 inches is the max size on them.
Oh, I thought it was 6
So
inches.
yes, well, 6 to 8 inches is what they are. Yeah, so they'll get pretty big. They'll get pretty large,
Okay.
but super
I'll
fat.
Yeah. I'll definitely need a bigger tank for him then, though, because he's
Yeah.
only in a 15-gallon. So
Yeah, you're probably going to want, I think it's recommended size is 20 per for the ranchos.
yes, this is a 20-gallon, so that's good.
There you go.
I can always put him in there. And
Yeah,
you
just
mean
swap
full
'em.
size?
Yeah, I
So
think full size is 20. Yeah, because they don't move around a whole lot because they don't really have
No.
a whole lot of body mass because they're missing that whole top dorsal fin. So they're pretty much just floating around.
Yeah, they got that big belly, so it'll be hard for them
Yeah.
to move. And a little tail too. They got
Yes.
They got such a big body, but then the tail's so small.
Yeah.
But
They don't
what's
look
so
right,
fascinating?
that's for sure.
Yeah, but the twin tail is just interesting. I mean, although I've never really focused about that part of the goldfish lately. I'm gonna go back after this and check out that twin tail because I completely forgot they have them, but that's really cool.
Yeah, them, the Orandas and the Ryukins all have the twin tail style on them. And I've got the Ryukins and the Orandas out in a 100-gallon stock tub in the backyard as well. So I just picked those up not too long ago from PetSmart. So I did pick up some more ranchos off of Amazon and got 10 of them, and all of them have died within 2 weeks. So not great there. So there should be a video probably coming out here in the next week or so on that. And I wouldn't recommend anyone buying them from the online Amazon source. So
15-gallon tank that we have outside. We have it like at the front door outside so that when you walk to the door, Chubb, who's the rancher goldfish, he always waddles up to the front of the glass and greets the people who are entering the house. But, yes, this is what I was going to say. So there was one time the first time I stocked the 15-gallon outside, I got 2 Ryukins, 2 rancher goldfish, and 2 black moors, 6 fancy goldfish for that one 15-gallon, and it hadn't been stocked for years, and I just instantly did it, and it was about $80 worth of goldfish. And the next day, 5 of them were dead.
Yep.
That was the biggest mistake I've made. Yeah. I got overboard. My dad warned me. Yeah.
So at least you know now, and you've learned from that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big thing about it is if we don't make a mistake, we're not going to learn from it. So that's kind of the cool part about being able to videotape what we do is that we can say, look, like this didn't work. This was a disaster. Don't try this. It's not going to help you. Like that is really kind of the biggest thing we have as an impact on the hobby is that we can make a mistake, and the community is so awesome that we can say, look, I made a mistake and I'm trying to make sure no one else does. And people respect that. And I mean, if you're not afraid to make a mistake, you're not probably doing it right. So I love making mistakes because then I know what not to do with the next time.
Yeah. Sadly, back then, though, I didn't have a YouTube channel. That was last year, but I could always make a video about that. Yeah. So that's
and talk
that's
about
an idea.
what you've learned since that moment. And, it's always something good to share the pitfalls of what we do. Because I make mistakes all the time. And luckily, I catch them quick enough to where I can fix whatever I've got. But, like the other day, really great mistake. Ian and I were in here filming for the new website, and I had so I've got the 2 power heads on this 75, and one of the power heads has an air line that comes out of it and sucks air in so that it can get bubbles. And I moved the air line because I moved the power head, and the air line was siphoning water out of my 75-gallon tank. So I'm sitting here filming and I'm seeing a puddle of water start forming at the bottom of my 75, and I'm leaving the next day for a trip. I'm like, okay, my 75 just cracked. What am I going to do right now? And luckily I found out it was siphoning out, but that was a mistake that could have killed this whole tank by all the water running out if I wouldn't have caught it. So, just little things like that, and hopefully we can learn from them so we don't do them again. But scary moment.
Yeah. Wow. Well, lucky you saw it draining out before it could get severe.
Yes.
That's very lucky.
Yeah, no, it was not great. I was not happy about that. But
what type of guppy, like what species of guppy, has had the most amount of fry that you've kept?
My Medusa guppies, every time they drop fry, I would say it's in the 60 to 70 range. And then a lot of them get predated, so it drops down a lot. But I think that is the largest dropping strain I've got. Most of the other ones are pretty, small drops. Not small, but reasonable sized, between the 20 to 40 range. And all of my guppies are colony raised too, which is very different than a lot of the, like HC Aqua. He actually pulls all of his fry and puts them in a secondary tank so that they can grow up separate. I don't do that here. I kind of let nature kind of take its course. I think it's kind of survival of the fittest. So really, I don't have to cull very many fish out of the fish room. I think maybe 3 culls in the last 4 months. Because all the ones that are weaker and slower and have a deformity end up getting probably eaten by the mother or father. So I try to let everything kind of be nature in the garage as much as possible. I think it creates a better guppy, not quite show quality guppy, but stronger guppies.
Yeah, I don't do the breeder box thing because it really stresses out guppies. So what I like to do is basically I'm not breeding guppies. Actually, I'm breeding guppies today. I'm starting to, because I rescaped a tank and moved the ram cichlid pair into the 20 gallon, and I'm going to put my Snow White guppy and my two guppy fry that have grown up in my 90 liter. I'm going to put them together in the 5 gallon and breed them. But what I do with my female swordtail and my male platy interbreed, and she's always pregnant. So I have 2 broods at the moment. But basically, what I do is I just let her give birth in the tank just whenever, and then I have lots of floating plants. And then when I see fry, I just net them out, as many as I can, and then I just put them in a breeder box for 2 or 3 weeks until they're big enough to go into my 5 gallon grow out tank, and then I just raise them up from there. And I've never really given fry to the pet store yet because I've just started getting big enough culls now, batches, because in the 5 gallon behind I have 12 fry, so that's the biggest I've ever gotten. Normally I get about 6 or 4 that have grown up.
Good.
Yeah, then I've got another 13 downstairs, so yeah, very interesting. But
it means you're feeding them right. If you're getting bigger drops, it means you're feeding them right.
Oh yay! I've accidentally in the past few days been overfeeding them, but now a few days ago, now I'm starting to feed them properly again. I don't know what was wrong with me. I just thought
I overfeed all the time, and I don't see any issue with overfeeding because they're going to eat what they can. And then I've got so many ram's horn snails that they'll come in and clean up a lot of that mess. I honestly, I feed the same amount practically every day, and then I'll throw in a few, cubes of brine shrimp, or I'll throw in some live brine shrimp or some bloodworms or something extra, some crow flakes, something just to give them a little bit of more protein. But I never have had an issue with overfeeding. But then again, I've got all my tanks are pretty established at this point. So I don't have too many of an issue with that. Do you have snails in your tanks?
Well, I've never really bought snails. They just come into the tank.
They showed up.
Yeah. So I think they're just the normal brown snails you normally see. I might get some mystery snails in the future though, because I love
mystery snails. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never really gotten things aquatic pets for my tanks other than fish. Although I did catch tadpoles the other day, and my friend gave me a bunch of ghost shrimp. So I'm probably going to get some cherry shrimp in the future, or neocaridina shrimp, something colorful, because the ghost shrimp are ghosty and they're see-through, so it's kind of hard to see. So I want something really bright. Yeah, so
I
probably
really
in the
like
5 gallon.
the orange Neos. I think those are an awesome color. I've got them
Oh
in
yeah.
the 10 over here with my American green guppies, and awesome coloration because they're really bright. And if you have the planted tank light, they end up showing more color through the tank lights, like the planted tank light. Very beautiful color. The red, in my experience, my reds have always come out super dark. And everyone tends to like that a lot. And they always say all the shrimp they get from me are really dark red. But I like a bright colored shrimp. So
Yeah.
I've actually gone away from the reds and I'm really liking the orange.
Hmm.
But then
I'm
again, I have all black substrate too. So that might help a little bit.
Yeah. Do you reckon I could put a few of those orange ones, because they sell them at my local fish store, so that's great. But do you reckon I could get a few of those orange carradinas for a 5 gallon?
Probably, yeah. Are you going to put them with the guppies and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put them with the guppies, put some hiding spots, some good amount of moss in there,
Oh
should have
yeah.
no problem at all.
There's a little breeding cave that I was using for the ramsicklers, and then I made this kind of reedy look to it. I'll probably show you afterwards, but yeah, it's really interesting. I just got the plants from my local pond, well, creek.
Oh, nice.
We have a creek called the Mary Creek, and then there's this little billabong that I just collected some random plants, and yeah, so they're basically free plants, and they look awesome. So
I honestly, like, every fish I get is a dream fish. I know it sounds kind of weird, but literally every single fish I get is like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. It's my new favorite. But honestly, it's literally anything that someone's put time into that really intrigues me. But right now I'm very into the CARES rack. I think that's just an incredible program that's going. So I think all my dream fish are pretty much fish that I have an impact with, if that makes sense. So going forward, I think a lot of my fish are going to be the CARES fish.
yeah, because I don't really have a dream fish, because any fish I get, I really like, because I love my own taste. And yeah, I just try to get, I like colorful ones, so colorful ones are my favorite, because like maybe platies or guppies. But I might try something different for once with this tank. I might get some exotic fish. I did get a few weeks ago an Australian blue eye.
I saw that.
Fork-tailed blue eye. So
yeah,
that is
those are
pretty
gorgeous.
exotic.
Yeah, no, I love those. The pseudomogills are beautiful fish.
Yeah, it costs $20 for the one fish.
Ooh.
But maybe that might not mean much to you, but to me, that's a lot.
No, that's a lot of money. I mean, it really is. Every cent counts in the fish hobby. It really does. I don't make a whole lot of money. I just spend my money very well. I save a lot and put the money where it's supposed to go. And it looks like I spend a lot of money in here, but a lot of it is I do 6 hours of researching, trying to find something that's $6 cheaper at this other site, and it's the exact same product. So a lot of time spent to save some money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, place you can get, for example, live plants, as I just did before. You can go to your local creek or whatever and find that. You can even find cool fish down there, but down here, the only fish we see in our river is the plain old mosquito fish.
Yeah, we don't have those here even, so you're luckier than us here. So in Utah, it's extremely cold in the winter and extremely hot in the summers. So pretty much the only fish, like creek fish, that we really get are trout, which are way too big for a fish tank. So that's not even an option for us. We do have like crawfish and stuff, or craydads or crawdads, or however you want to pronounce it. Micro lobsters, whatever people want to call them.
Yabbies.
That's
what we call
we've got
them down
those
here.
But there's not really a whole lot of like aquarium fish that I can collect in Utah. I might have to go down into the like New Mexico area to get some of the like guppy kind of versions, or platies or mollies.
Yeah. Cool. So, so how many tanks do you have? Oh, you kind of answered that. Yeah,
I
you
need to
answered that
count
one.
though, because I think there might be more than I think there is. So I got 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 9, 13, 20, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and then 4 ponds. So I'm at 44.
Very
So
cool.
a lot more than I was thinking.
For your maintenance side of your tanks, do you use piping or do you just do?
Yeah, so I do everything by hand. So I do the siphon with the Python. So I do Python cleaning. So I'm lucky. I've got right outside the garage is my laundry room, and then we have a what do they call them? A utility sink, I guess is what you would call it. Kind of the bigger sinks, the big white sinks that you'd find in a laundry room. And that's what I use for my water changes, at least to start the siphon. But everything I do is by hand. A lot of it's evaporation in here, though. I don't do a whole lot of gravel vacuuming because I kind of like having the mulm and the detritus worms and all of that inside of the tanks. I think it creates a stronger ecosystem for the fish. So there's really not a whole lot of maintenance I really put into it. I will go through once a month and clean all the sponges. I do weekly water change, so I'll come in and do 15% usually. Some tanks I'll do 50 depending on kind of the clarity and everything. But I check water weekly on every one of my tanks. So I go through a lot of test strips.
Yeah. Is your water down there, does it have chlorine in it?
It does, yeah. Chlorine, chloramine, and then I have extremely hard water. So the Tetra test strips that you get, with the multi-tests on there, the hardness test that's on there, ours pretty much goes black because we're above the scale that it can even register. So it's extremely hard liquid rock here.
Oh, I thought down here was hard, but appears there is not.
Yeah, all our water in Utah is a mountain spring runoff. So all of our, I live right at the base of the Wasatch Mountain Range, which if you look that up, it's one of the largest mountain ranges in the United States. And I live right at the base of that. So there's a lot of really huge glacial canyons and stuff that are created. So there's high mountain lakes that are run off from snow and rain. And then it comes down the streams and right into our water system here. So everything runs through a lot of rock to get to us.
Definitely go check out his channel, Guppy Guru. It's really great and amazing content. And
thank you.
Amazing community on there too. And he is a great person himself. And with that being said, thank you for watching, everyone. Hope you have an amazing day. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Hit the like button.